Andy,
Yeah.
suddenly the sound went off, but now you're back.
Okay, so I will wait a few minutes. 2 minutes.
Yep. Now I'm the. Ah. Okay. Let me see. Okay. We go.
Sure. Yeah.
Yep. Hello, everyone out the dynamics, and today is our fifth day having these conversations every day at 12 out there. Thank you for following us and for watching us again. Today is Friday, relaxed day. We're not going to be in the teaching mode. We're going to be in the giving advice mode. And this way, I say hello to Andy Shehu, our principal AI researcher. Hello, Andy. How are
Hello,
you?
Jenna. Good, good, good.
Good.
Yes.
How are you doing over there in New York?
It's nice.
It's
I like the
nice. It
seasons.
is New
I
York.
like the seasons
Yeah,
too.
I know. This season is a very nice one in New
Yeah, the
York
impeachment
City.
season, right?
And also the impeachment season. It was a tiring day for everybody out there, 14 hours. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I had it in the
Yeah.
background while I was working the 14
Yeah, it's
hours.
very soothing
Uh,
background
uh,
noise, right? Yeah.
exactly. For us that we are political junkies, it is a soothing sound uh, for keeping us focused. As we promised, we're going to give some advice, tips, and answering some questions about how to become a data scientist.
Yeah.
We both, I think it's very interesting our approach because, as we said before, actually, you that we are not like pure data scientists in the sense that we didn't uh, arrive to data science in the most traditional way. We are both physicists,
Mm-hmm.
right? We met when we were doing your PhD, and I was a postdoc there in New York. And suddenly we discovered this beautiful field that is data science and also AI, of course. We began this enterprise that dynamics. So for everybody out there, I think our point of view, this field can be useful, right?
Yeah.
And What are the tools that we consider to build
So,
everything
okay, so I'm
around data
actually
science
working on a blog post, on a long form
and
blog post where
our
my goal
jobs?
was to start by like putting together a series of like books and resources for people to
Okay,
start. And one second. So I think we can, since we don't have slides today, so we can I can put this picture a little bit up, and then I
yep,
will put yours side by side. So one second. Yeah. So I started putting together this post with some resources, but then I actually went in a different direction. So I went then to analyzing some of my own work. Um, no, nothing changed. Just both. It should be set.
that you're
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah. There's a lag.
okay,
Okay, so I started to write it together. I'll publish the post like a little bit later today. Uh, but basically, I kind of like try to go back and analyzing the projects that I have been working on,
okay,
and to see like what has worked, what has not worked. And then, because then we can understand what is the role of a data scientist, and then we can go through
okay,
what you actually need to become one. So at
okay.
first, when I first started working on projects, like you get very excited to use a lot of the things that you learn, a lot of the machine learning, a lot of the tools that you learn. You get very excited to build things, and that was usually that tended to be like my approach is like, okay, like you have a new project, like you're hired to build something, and then you go on and you build it. And I've been simmering on this for some time, and like now I realize that actually that was not the right way to go about it, even though, because you're hired as, especially when you are brought in as an outside consultant, you
Mm-hmm.
have to first you have to do, of course, what the client is asking, but then you have to push back a little bit and also use your own expertise to giving direction to the project.
Yes.
So yeah, it used to be the approach was that, okay, like we would show up with my team, build things, and then maybe move on to other projects. Now what I see as the role, so that role is actually the role of a data engineer. So the role of a data engineer or an algorithm engineer is to go in and then build these things. The role of a data scientist is an explorer. So you are an
Um,
investigator. So as a data scientist, like the first thing, and this is something that I wrote before also, is that the first thing is to, once you understand the business, is to actually investigate. So you're an investigator, you're the principal investigator, and if you're the most senior one, you are the principal investigator. So you're investigating the data that you're given, any other data sources that you may come across. You investigate enough until you find a signal. So my process now is basically showing up, understanding enough on the business, investigating enough until you find like small signals. You don't have to find a very strong signal, but you find something.
yeah.
Once you have that signal and like you see something that you believe that it will lead into a stronger signal, then you start bringing in, because if you work by yourself it might take a little bit too long and you don't have enough resources, so you start to show what you have internally or to people next to you. So maybe there's
Mm-hmm.
another data scientist sitting next to you, maybe there's another collaborator that you have worked with, or another like business person that you like close. Yeah.
Yeah, in that sense, it's very similar for what we used to do, for example, in the research field in physics, right? I mean, we are investigating, seeing some problems, and then we have discussions with our partners, and then, as you said, we identify a signal, something that is new, something that is different, and that can give you like a lead. Probably you
Yeah,
don't
but you start to get a feel of it.
know.
Yeah,
It, if you have a solution
right. Yeah, so exactly. So you're investigating. The
and
investigative
things like
process
that,
can
but you
be
see the
kind of like you're just
signal
shooting in
and
like
you
five different
start working on the
directions,
signal,
and then hopefully you find something
right?
small, and then you show it to someone like next to you, like the people that usually you are in touch with, and because eventually, hopefully, you want at least like one or two of them to kind of like jump on board and continue the investigation with you. So maybe they're working on other projects, but they could probably put a few hours in helping you with the investigation. So you might need some support. Maybe you need someone to collect more data or to help you like bringing in things. So like
Okay.
you slowly start to bring these people around you, and like because you believe enough and they see it in you, so they start coming around you, coalescing around you. So now you actually have a team. So now you have built a team, and more or less everyone starts to find their role. So you have the business side, and then you have the technical side. You continue again to find, you continue chasing the signal until it becomes a little bit stronger. When it's
Okay.
stronger, and then the team that you are working with, like more or less you're aligned, and you believe that okay, now you have something. Now is the time for you to actually go out there to other stakeholders and showing your results. So that's when the preaching part comes.
The preaching, yes.
So yeah,
I have to accept that that one for me is hard.
yes,
The
this
preaching.
is
I'm
hard for
learning.
a lot of people. This is hard.
Yeah.
Because especially for tech people come from a background where the results should show for themselves. Like that's where the
Exactly.
attitude is, that this is the data, this is something that I found, it shows for itself. So like we're done, let's move on. No, um, it's very rare that the signal is so strong that you never have to actually push. Very
Yeah.
very rare. If it was, like someone else would have found it before you. Like if it was that strong of a signal, somebody would have actually seen it. So
Yeah.
that's when you go around and then you're saying that okay, this is the signal that we have. It is quite strong. Like we can set some benchmarks to compare it with our current business models, with whatever we are working on, and we can see that this one is stronger. So you have to go
Okay.
around this loop for a while. So some paper, you give a few presentations, but then you have to keep doing it. So you do it once, you do it twice, maybe it doesn't stick, then you need to figure
Exactly.
out like why is it not working? Like what are they not seeing? What am I seeing that they're not seeing? What are their
So,
concerns? Mm-hmm.
for example, right now, one of the main skills that you have to develop, if you don't have it, you have to be stubborn, right?
So yeah,
A little bit
well,
stubborn.
so you
Yeah.
want to
You
be
have to have
stubborn, like
patience.
yeah. So it's like it also has its own risk in that you want to go
Yeah.
out there when you have seen something. Because if you do this once and then, okay, eventually maybe they give you more resources and then you go back there again with another project, but then if they fizzle out, then like it eventually catches up with you. So yeah, like first you do have to believe
Exactly.
in what you're seeing. So
Yeah.
there is something there, and then you start chasing it. Uh, you built the team. So once you have built that team again, so now it's the process basically that you are the main principal investigator. You're the main person to go out there, but you also have people around you who are also preaching for you, or they also have
Okay.
some ownership in the project, so they believe. So you have enough people like going around pushing for this. So who are you pushing to? So you could be pushing to investors, you could be pushing to the higher ups in your organization, because you're saying that this is what we have, we think we should implement it, or we think we should go enterprise and start building the entire, so going from what we have into just building it. um, so yeah, so basically again, so number one, investigating. Number two, finding the signal. Number three, building a team, so finding some stakeholders that want to work with you. And
Mm-hmm.
then the preaching part, and not stopping until, or at least like until you see like what are they telling you, or maybe you're not seeing something. Sometimes we're blind. Like we see something, we think it's amazing, uh, but maybe there wasn't. So you need to come back then with all of that feedback, and then adjust,
Okay.
and then maybe like go back again into the investigative part. Okay, so the reason I say that is that because eventually, so what you're looking for as a data scientist is to find value.
Okay.
Now, that value might be in different forms in that it doesn't necessarily have to be, you don't necessarily have to build a tool. You don't necessarily have to like build something. It could be that you find something, and then by changing
Okay.
the way the business is run, that by itself is already something.
Yes,
So
of
you're
course.
going around, you're finding something, and then you're saying that okay, like we can distribute our resources in a more optimal fashion, and this is how we can do it.
Exactly. No, it doesn't necessarily has to do with like selling something or improve sales or things like that. Also, it has to be like a signal, as you said, inside the
Yeah,
the money flow,
yeah,
right? Inside the that one, it's already a product by itself.
yeah, and
Okay.
so okay, so the reason again, I keep going back to this because there is so then like the difference between the data scientist and the data engineer. So the data engineers are
Yeah.
usually the algorithm engineers are the ones who are, they have seen something and they just keep on adding more features into an existing system. And then the research
Okay.
scientist, the data scientist, it's more about finding new signals. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay. So they work together. They work together
yeah, so sometimes
sometimes,
they work
but
together,
not all
yeah.
the time.
And
Okay.
okay, so basically the reason that so I kind of like had to go back into this and then move on to the hard skills. It's so basically the goal is to find that value. Okay, so now how do you go about starting? If you are, I would say if you are an existing data scientist or if you're moving into the space, um, the hard skills, right? So that's usually one of the things. So the hard skills you need them. The hard skills you need
Yes.
for step one and two. So
Okay.
the finding the investigative part and the finding of the signal. So that's when these hard skills like the programming skills come in, right?
Okay. That is a hard skill. The
Yeah.
coding part. The
So
programming.
so now so if that is the profile of a data scientist, what do you need to get that signal? So that part, the hard skill to getting it. What is new? It's the programming skills that what has changed. It's the tools that have made the process faster. So going from the raw data and searching and finding something, it's become faster now if you use something like Python or R to do the investigation.
Okay.
But so okay, so as far as then what do you need? If you are just starting out, I would say once you have picked whether you want to work in R or Python,
Mm-hmm.
then just stick with one or the other for a while. In you really want to master it. You really want to go through the process of like mastering the tool set. But you
I
yeah.
have a question that probably somebody who is beginning to develop these hard skills. How do you choose? How can you tell somebody and how to choose which one is the best option for you? Let's say between Python. I got
Personally,
it.
like yeah, I think this has become like a religion out there. So like
Yeah,
there is the R and the Python religions.
yeah,
But in the end, it doesn't really matter. I think if you come from a background that is not so much of if you're not
coding.
heavy on the programming, so if you haven't done
Yeah,
anything in like, then it's easier to pick up things in the IDE of R. So like
Yeah.
R&R Studio, they tend to be a little bit easier, the interface.
Yeah, it is
Uh,
really easy, actually.
Python is more dynamic in building things. So developers, they usually choose, they tend to go with Python. And academics and people who come from statistics, they tend to go more with R.
Okay.
So once you have done that, the resources that I will give are actually for R.
Mm-hmm.
That mastering the skills, it's there is just one book. So we're going to give the links to the book. The
Okay.
book is
Yep.
R for Data Science by Hadley Wickham. Hadley
Okay.
Wickham, he's the chief scientist of R Studio. It's the IDE that we use. And he's developed a lot of the packages like ggplot, dplyr, tidyverse, all of these packages he's developed. So it makes sense to actually to learn from him. And all that you have to do is learn the fundamentals of the data wrangling part. So the
Okay.
most useful skill is actually the data wrangling, the data visualization, and the dynamic reporting.
Okay. I have a question here that was emailed to
Mm-hmm.
us. Does data science require coding?
Hmm.
Ha, that's a tricky one. I would say yes, for, but not, as you say, crazy coding. You just need the enough tools that will help you to find that kind of signals in the data, the kind of signals that you were talking
Yeah.
about. You don't need to be an expert, super expert developer, coding crazy maniac that a lot of people like,
Yeah.
and that is perfectly okay. But I think you just need enough
Like I
skills
wouldn't work with
in
someone
order to
like
work
I wouldn't be able to
with
work with someone who can't code. So they might be
code.
able
To
to
be
work in a
experts.
different. So I know that there's a lot of people who use SAS
Okay.
for a lot of the exploratory parts. Um, but then I wouldn't be able to use the work from there in the future. I like having code because it's reproducible.
Yep.
The reproducibility part, writing tutorials for other people to jump into the project, it's much
Hmm.
easier. And then also going from the investigative part into
Yep.
the building of the tool and the product that you are eventually building, it's all very cohesive. So the
Yep.
value does come in from. So there is a lot of value that comes in from being able to actually do the programming, do the entire process. Um,
So for the person who asked, yes, unfortunately, it's better. It's gonna make your life easier in some sense. It will help you to develop easier, as Andy said. It's
yeah,
more cohesive, and it will give you a better sense on the data. Also, it helps you a lot to forget about that part. Is what Andy said, and I also strongly recommend. You don't have to be like a PhD in coding.
I
Just
mean,
find out the basic tools that will help you to work with the data,
yeah.
right?
So
Eventually, you will learn more things.
mm-hmm.
So you will keep learning coding as long as you keep working with different projects and so on. So the mastering part, it will come by itself.
But so
You
okay,
don't have
yeah.
to do
So
it
starting
first.
from the process from you. So the first process, yeah, choosing once you choose one of the two languages,
Yes,
mastering the what we call the data wrangling part.
the uh-huh.
The data wrangling, it's huge. Mastering the data
Yes.
wrangling, the data visualization, and the dynamic reporting, like how to create like really nice reports that are reproducible. The reproducibility part is important because very often, like I wouldn't trust the work of someone until I can actually go ahead and reproduce it myself. But
Uh-huh.
instead of me going, if you give me certain statistics, certain findings, but you say that okay, I did this in Excel, but there is no source code, I would have to do it from scratch myself. And I don't want to do that. I want to have something that I can just knit and I get the entire
Yes,
report.
exactly.
So that part, it's important.
But one thing, so don't be scared because, for example, for me, you were my teacher in the coding part,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I had a little bit of background with C, C++, and things like that, but I learned like in a weekend with the,
Yeah,
with
so we can go through the process
with
of like what
Andy.
then, like, so getting started, and then the more hands-on parts. Maybe we even have some sessions on that. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're a very good case study in that. Like, how do you go from like zero programming in R to being able
exactly.
to deliver results within maybe a couple of weeks? That it was like, okay, like now we actually have results that we are producing. And
Yeah,
so it matters on like, well, knowing the kind of projects that you can solve and then where you should work on. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, so the first part would be mastering those data wrangling tools. And the reason they're important is because the data science process, is that you raise enough hypotheses. So you're
yes.
asking a
The
lot of
question.
questions
Yep,
and then you want to test those
yep,
questions. The faster you
yep.
can test them, the more value you add. So you kind of want to go through the process of testing these hypotheses very quickly. And to do that, it does help to use like one of those languages. But that's about it. So yeah, you want to ask good questions, test them very quickly, and then also write very nice reports. So the reports are a combination of key findings, some data visualization. I would say that this part, like if you are starting out, like just like stop here, like that's it. Like don't like
Okay.
one of the big mistakes that people actually make is that you move into other things. So you go into now the deep learning, the machine learning, and so now you're becoming very thin. And yes, you can use all of those things on a different data set, but if you are just starting out, I would think that, and actually to get a position as a junior data scientist, you're better off
Mhm.
just stopping there, first improving those skills, like mastering them, and then working on the storytelling parts. So once you have them from a book, then it's good to go out there, pick a data set. Pick a good data
And start
set
work.
that is interesting to you. So like any topic that you might be interested in, it could be medicine, it could be politics, anything, there is a data set somewhere out there.
Yep.
So once you have a topic that you are interested in, and then you go through the process of investigation and finding something in that data set. And then you go through the other steps where like you have something, you found something, now you need to write some blog posts. Like Medium is a good place to publish these posts. And then maybe find a community where you can go and give some presentations and let people ask questions. But the presentations, they should be more towards the full picture. Like, what are you solving? What are you really solving? Like, not so much in like, I used this tool and then that tool. Like that, keep it in the background. If somebody asks, then sure.
Mhm.
But it should be more about the big picture. Like, what was the problem that you're trying to solve? It could be, so yeah, if it was something about, around medicine, was like, why are we spending these resources? So you should be able to sell it so that someone can actually sponsor you if you were in front of the right people. So that process, so like once you have more or less the basics of the programming, but that shouldn't take you too long, like just like a few weeks. The next one is finding, like, to get that confidence. So to get the confidence, like finding a good project basically, and then delivering. So this is because
Yeah.
when you started, we did have real projects, so that once we went through that first phase, it's like I just threw you in and said, and then you start swimming, and then eventually you learn how to swim. Uh,
I was drowning at the beginning, but
yeah, like
yes,
you
I made.
drown and then like I pull you up a little bit
Yeah,
and then
it
yeah,
worked.
but then you like you gain like you're like okay, like I see, like this is what it means to solve a problem. So eventually, what you're doing
Yeah.
is solving problems. Um, so I think we can probably for today we can leave it at this part because I really think that like this is one of the big mistakes that people make in that they spread themselves too thin. And
Okay.
actually, I was talking to one of the data scientists and reviewing some of his work. He's been working on a project where he's been like the first things that he tried, like he was going through all using all of these different algorithms, but then the work never went anywhere because the findings are not strong enough. Like he doesn't believe in the algorithm like enough. The
Okay.
visualization part is not there. So it's kind of like
Okay.
I did this using this. As
And that's
opposed
it. Yeah.
to if you just have mastered just these tools with your background, using your background, you should be able to own a project so that you can go in front of people and just keep pushing for your ideas.
Okay.
So I would say like that. Like if you take anything from this session, it's don't go into the machine learning part. We can have another session where we go into machine learning. It is important,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not for everyone, and not everyone uses it.
Yeah, there are problems that they don't require that kind of
Yeah, like
implementations.
a lot of
Yes,
things. Even when you're
a lot of
doing
things can be
so
done
going
before
from this
machine learning.
into doing natural language processing and text mining, you actually don't
Yes.
need machine learning. A lot of it is just data munging.
Yeah.
So getting comfortable with your basics and then just going into asking questions and owning it, like just like really owning a project. Like when you own it, that you're comfortable to like anyone can ask you anything. It's reproducible. Uh, it's a little bit. It has to be a little bit inspiring that other people can jump on it and work with you, and then they give you more resources to continue working.
To
Yeah.
continue working. Okay, so before we leave, we have another question. Read about it and visit our website, but it's good to address it here right now. The question is, which is better, hire data scientist versus an AI consulting company for your business, like
Uh-huh.
us, for example?
It depends on the business. Like very often, a lot of the clients that we work with, they do have some data science team.
Uh huh.
Uh, but if you're investigating new projects, you're investigating new ideas. There's only so much that you can stress your internal team.
Your
So
team.
they might be
Yeah.
working on something, and then there's only so much that you can actually stretch that team. So having an independent voice, someone that like people that can come in and then take on that project to find the signal and then passing it on, or then maybe combining forces
To the
to implement
to the
it.
in the house. Yeah. And also, for example, if you are a small company, probably you don't have the resources right now in order to hire everybody that you need for building a, a team of your own company.
But also the data science position, it's more of a sometimes it's like a for a lot of projects, it's more of a temporary position. It's not a full time position. The data engineering, I think the data engineering, it's more
Is
continuous,
more stable. Yes.
and the data science position is that because not every company needs a scientist, an in house scientist. So
Hmm.
I would say like the foundation, the engineering part, like very often should be in house. Like there should be some engineers in house, and the scientific part, it's something that can be outsourced. And
Okay.
the other thing that work with a lot, it's the advisory and the coaching side. So working with the internal teams. So like basically, what do you have internally, and then helping them in the right direction with the investigation and the implementation parts.
Okay.
So
I think that answers the questions. If you have more questions, please feel free to submit them. And to talk about just to finish this, to wrap it up, we're gonna have gifts for this holiday season, right?
yes.
We're gonna begin next week, so be pay attention, everybody, in our social media. We're going to we are offering as a present for all our followers and clients out there. It's a free phone call, advisory phone
Or
call
Skype.
with you, with me.
It could be Skype or phone call.
What? No, it can be a Skype or phone call. Our followers and clients out there, if mostly because what we feel sometimes when we meet a client for the first time, right? They are very scared, probably. I don't know if it is the right word about approaching these AI and data science products for their companies. So the idea with this phone call is to get to know you, to see, give you advisory. Maybe you ended up working with us, maybe not, but we are going to be really, really happy to hear from you. We're going to be posting it in our social media. It's going to be really easy. You just have to fill out a form and we will contact you.
Yeah. So
And I don't know if
yeah, the advisory
so.
part is basically going through the process of anything that, whether you are about to build a product, you want to evaluate an existing product, or you're going through, you have a budget for next year and you're thinking about building a data science team.
Okay.
So the advisory part, so we do give the full advisory session, and then also whether we are a fit to work together in the long run. So like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first part, so we do the first part, and then we go through the process of like, okay, based on what we have talked about, these are your internal resources, these are the people that you can hire internally, and these are our rates, this is how we work, this is our process for this kind of projects. And it also has to be a fit for us. So it has to be the kind of project that we specialize in, that we actually want to jump
Exactly.
into.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're gonna be posting it. Pay attention all next week, so you can have this free advisory phone call or a Skype call or any other medium that you prefer. Uh, Thank you so much, Andy. And I think we have to say goodbye to everybody out there. We wish you a very nice weekend. And if you are political junkies, enjoy what is still going on about the impeachment. Also, we would love to discuss about that one, but this is not the place. But thank you so much for following us this week. We are really, really happy
Oh, yeah. So I will
to.
publish also the things that we talked about today. I will publish the blog post,
And yes, please,
so we
a
can
lot
give
of
the
the things
links.
that we discuss here, a lot of the things that we discuss here are published in our blog section in our com. And thank you so much,
Bye.
everybody. Have a really nice weekend. Thank you on the p.m. Eastern. See you on Monday. Bye
Ciao.
bye.